Hi guys, welcome back to my Plain and Simple Life blog and my YouTube channel. And today we are going to dive into sourdough bread. And this is going to be a very chopped up video because it's going to take, where I'm going to record this part and then I come back 30 minutes, record that, So there's about 4 or 5 at least cuts in here that's going to happen. But what we want to talk about is how sourdough works, what is the process that goes on into sourdough. And I think if you understand the process, it makes it a little less scary and a little less intimidating, because it's a very simple process and you let it do its thing while you're off doing other things. You just mix it up, walk away, give it 30 minutes, let it hydrate, come back, stretch and fold, and we're going to go over that as well. And then walk away for 30 minutes, come back, and it doesn't have to be exact 30 minutes. It could be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, but you do want to get these stretch and folds in, because that's going to activate your gluten and help the process start breaking down your gluten, and then also creating those bubbles that we want in our sourdough. Now we are going to make a rustic loaf, so the traditional looking round loaf with the pretty scoring on top. And I will take you step by step through that. We are going to start off with a fed starter. So over on my blog, if you don't have a starter already started and strong, then go over to that video and I'll link it below. But go over to that video and that will help you get started. And then in about a week, come back and we'll do this video with me. But this is what my starter looks like. I fed it yesterday morning. Let me get a little closer so you can see really good. You see how bubbly and good that is? And also see how it's really hydrated, okay? That's what you want. Bubbly and strong. To check your sourdough to see if it is strong, then go ahead and get you a little bit of water, non-chlorinated water. Anytime you're working with things with probiotics or ferments or anything like that, you want non-chlorinated water, because the chlorine can kill the bacteria that is in your starter. So we are going to just pour about a cup, a little bit less, of starter in here. And then we are going to get a teaspoon here, just a little bit. See how good and stringy that is? This is good stuff. And then we are going to put that in the water. And do you see how it floats? It floats there on top. That is strong starter. If yours sinks to the bottom, it is not strong enough to make a good loaf of bread yet. So what you want to do then is, make some pancakes with it, make some biscuits with it. Any of the recipes online that say, pizza crust, anything for discard recipes, where you don't need a big, strong, active starter. But that's how you see if your starter is strong enough. Get this off my finger. Now, my basic recipe is 3 cups of flour, 1 cup of water, a half a cup of starter, and a big tablespoon or so of salt. And I have broke it down to that, and I use that for many of my recipes. My pizza crust is that. If I do a baguette or Italian bread, or shape it any way that I want, loaf of bread, of like sandwich bread, it's pretty much all the same recipe. Sometimes for a sandwich bread, you'll want to add fat and sugar to it, or a sweetener, because that will make it softer and when you're having like, you know, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you don't want it on toast, then, you know, you want a soft bread. That's how you get a really soft bread. But sourdough is not traditionally a soft bread. It is a chewy bread with a good crust on it, you know, a good hard crust. Not break your teeth hard, but, you know, a good solid crust. So we're going to do it two ways. We are going to compare my 3 cups, 1 cup, half cup to what it is in grams. I know some of you all are intimidated by the grams. It's like a total different language than what we're used to, but that's why I also break it down to my basic 3-1/2, you know, ratio. So we are going to see what 3 cups of flour looks like. And I have just a simple kitchen scale here. You turn it on, and it's on fluid ounces right now. So we are going to hit the unit to milliliters, and then to pounds and ounces, and then to grams, okay? We're gonna put our bowl on there, and then we are going to hit the 0 button. So it makes the bowl not weigh anything. And there is a little bowl up here on the keypad there that says, yeah, there's something on here. So we are going to do, I already got my water there, see what 3 cups measures out to be. This is a 1/2 cup of measuring, measure cup. Okay, mine is right at 400 grams, okay? So 3 cups or 400 grams, however you want to do it, goes in, okay. Then you put it back on, and it zeroes back out. Then we're going to do a full cup of water. Hydration is very important in sourdough. That's what everybody talks about, is, you know, what's the hydration? And I don't know exactly how to calculate what my hydration is, but I would figure it about maybe 70 to 75% hydrated. Okay, and this is 219, and I'm going to bump it up to about 250. Right there. So a smidge over 1 cup of water, non-chlorinated, 250 grams, okay? And then we pour that in. Okay. And then we are going to do a 1/2 cup of starter. And we're going to measure that out as well and see where we are there. Now, if you had some extra starter that you needed to use up, you could so easily just exchange it for some of the flour and some of the water. Add it to, have a bigger loaf. Okay, so this is about a 1/2 cup. Oh, that didn't zero out. There. And this is going to be right at 50 grams. Okay, so we are going to put this in here. Okay, and then we are going to do, zero that back out, a good tablespoon of salt. And if I'm thinking correctly, I get about 20. I get 20 grams of salt. Salt is your flavoring additive. It also helps with the hydration of the flour. So we are going to just incorporate this together. Give it a good stir. It is going to be a dry, shaggy dough when we first get it done. When you are making sourdough, it is mostly by feel. If it is a very humid day, or if it's raining outside, or you have some soup going or bone broth going on the stove, and you have a higher hydration in the house, then this is going to pick that up, and you're going to have a wetter dough. If it is dry, like you got a wood stove burning, you don't have anything going on the stove to add hydration, and it's dry outside, then your dough is going to be drier as well. And you can either compensate for that with a little bit more starter, a little bit more water, or just give it more time. Okay. This is a wet dough whisk, and you can get them off Amazon and things like that. Somebody told me I needed to go put, like a list on my Amazon so that you guys can go and find the stuff that I'm using on there. At the time, I may do that. So I'm just going to incorporate it and get it good and together. I'm not looking for anything that looks like a smooth dough at this point. I just want the flour and the starter and the water all in one ball. Scrape it off the sides. Now, to also help with hydration, whenever I'm letting this rest, I am going to cover it with a wet towel. Okay, now see, this is what it's going to look like. It's not very sticky. You shouldn't have a lot of dough on your hands, just a little bit. And it is, you can see how it's just growing and expanding right here. That is a good healthy starter in here. So anyway, it's not smooth, it's really shaggy, but it is incorporated together. So I am going to now just kind of put that in a ball there so that I can watch it. Get all that off my hands. And then I'm going to cover it with a wet towel, like I said, nice clean wet towel. So when you all are using your towels and things like that to drain through and to use on your dough, make sure that you don't have like fabric softener in your towels or any soap residue. And how I get my soap residue off when I wash my towels is in the fabric softener bin, I put in vinegar, white vinegar. And that removes all the soap residue and makes it super absorbent as well, because fabric softener actually blocks your absorbency and it makes it softer. So I'm gonna go get this wet. The light wring out just where it's not dripping. And cover your dough. Okay, now I'm gonna clean most of this up, and then we'll be back and we'll do our first set of stretch and folds. I usually do about 4 4 sets of stretch and folds about every 30 minutes or so. So you're going to be spending the whole day with me pretty much. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes actually, instead of 30. But I want you to see the texture, dehydration, the lightness of it. So it was shaggy when I took the towel off, but as you can see, it is turning into a nicer dough. I usually turn the bowl, but I'm trying to aim this towards you. Okay. So now that you see it, I'm gonna go ahead and work it like I normally would. So what we're doing is we're activating the gluten. It is creating the structure that is going to make the bread rise. There's no set number of times. Let me put this underneath here. It's making too much noise. There's no such certain amount of times that you stretch and fold. You don't do it 4 times. You don't do it 20 times. You go for a feel. You want to feel that structure in the bread getting stronger as you do it, as you stretch and fold. So more can be better at times, depending on your structure. So get it good and stretchy, really stretch it. You can also feel those bubbles in there start to form underneath your fingers. You can feel those little bubbles. And that's a good thing. You want those bubbles. That is what makes the traditional rustic sourdough loaf. So just fold it over, stretch it, and fold it. Stretch it and fold it. Okay. Now this is only the second fold, stretch, or well actually this is the first stretch and fold. The other one was just incorporating it. Okay. So then we're gonna kind of create just a little bit of tension on that top. And what that does is it keeps the bubbles inside it and allows it to form on the inside. There you go. It's about as tight as it's going to get there. Now you see that time was a little bit more sticky. The next time it probably won't be near as sticky. It'll be almost smooth. So we are going to put the wet towel back over it and be back in 30 minutes. Okay, we are back again. And see how each time this gets just a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And it's also going to be almost like a smooth dough now. And see how it just pulls up. And it gets rather bulky. Gosh, that thing's so noisy. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So stretching and folding it slow like that was just to give you an idea of what it's supposed to look like and kind of let you see maybe how it feels. But you can be pretty rough with your dough right about now because we are just getting that gluten really activated, really working so that our bread gets good rise. Okay. Now let's pull up some and try that window pane test again. So you take your 4 fingers there and pull it apart and pull it. Pretty thin. So I'd say we're there. This is the 4th stretch and fold that we've done. This is really good therapy for your shoulders. So why don't we need sourdough? The quick answer is we want to preserve those bubbles. So we don't want to smush it out and pop all those bubbles. When you are making a quick bread, you don't want all those bubbles in your bread. You want a nice tight crumb. That's what they call it. You want a nice tight crumb with minimal holes so that you can put your mayonnaise or your peanut butter on it and use it for sandwiches. Now you can make sandwich bread out of sourdough, and I'll be doing one of those here pretty soon. I actually stumbled across it. It's not really a sandwich bread recipe, but it makes the best sandwich bread. It was actually a pretzel recipe, but I will share that with you all at a different time. Right now we're just going to make the classic rustic loaf. There we go. Get that good stretch on that outside. See how I'm just stretching it? Well, stretched it a little bit too far and got it on my fingers. Yeah. And then put it in here, all nice and stretched. Tomorrow, we are going to dump this dough out on a floured surface and shape it. And then we're going to put it in a Banneton basket. Now, you don't have to have a specific basket for this. You can use whatever bowl or basket that you have for whatever you're going to bake it in. If you have a Dutch oven that you're going to bake this in, then you want the bowl to be just a little bit smaller so that your bread will fit down in there and have room to expand and rise. I have a Banneton basket, so I'm going to use that tomorrow. And we use a tea towel, flour it up, put that in there, and then we let it rise. And then we also put it in the refrigerator for a while and let it rise in there, and then also get good and chilled so that we keep that moisture content that we want. But we will go through all that in the next video. Good morning, guys. So today the dough is has risen. We've left it out overnight, and there we go. Can you see? Okay, so quite a bit more than was yesterday. So we are going to turn this out on the counter. Put a little bit of flour down just so it doesn't stick. And then we're going to shape it and put it into the Banneton basket. Get my sleeves up. Put a little bit on my hands. use this plastic bench scraper. You can also use, you know, any other kind of scraper or spatula, or, you know, one of them rubber spatulas or whatever. But you're just going to gently work the dough out onto the counter. I had somebody ask me if they should oil this bowl. And I know when you're making traditional white bread, that's part of it. You oil it. And but I haven't oiled mine with the sourdough because nothing had ever instructed me to. So I never thought about it. But I guess you totally could. I don't think it would hurt anything. So now we are going to just, because this is full of bubbles in there, so we are just going to gently pull the sides up and give it some shape. Just like that. Okay. All right. Scoot some of that flour back underneath there. Now I'm going to flip it over. And then give it some tightness across the top. And this, your bench scraper will come in very handy for this. So what you're doing is you're grabbing it right here on the edge and pushing that under as you are twisted, you know, turning it. And it creates, you can do it with your hand also, you know, where you just grab it under and twist. And it's got some tension on the countertop, so it's creating this tight pull across the top. Okay. All right. Now, you know that is tight. I'm just going to rub just a little bit of flour on the top. Okay. And then I have my Banneton basket here. You can use a bowl, anything that is going to give you the shape that you want, the size and the shape that you want. And then I have floured this liner really well. You want it all up the sides and in the seams right there. Okay. So then got a little bit of flour on top. And then I am going to scrape it up and place it in there upside down. And then you see how this is all not connected, I guess. Everywhere that I have taken and folded underneath or tightened underneath, it needs just a little bit more tightness. So I am going to grab these edges and give them a little pinch together, a little twist together. And again, that pulls from the bottom there, or from the sides there, and gives this all a nice little tight ball. Okay. I'm going to take just another little pinch and get it right around here on the edges. Just kind of sprinkle it, rub it in. Okay. Now, another trick I learned from Lisa on Farmhouse on Boone. She takes hers and puts hers in a grocery store sack. So these little plastic sacks. So if anything sticks to the surface, when you go to pull it off, you're going to cause your bread to deflate. So we are going to put it in this sack here, and this will hold in the moisture. I'm going to give it a little tie. And then I'm going to pull it up off of it. And it is strong enough that it is going to stay off of it. So I am going to leave this now on the counter for about an hour or so. And then I will put it in the refrigerator for 4, 6, 8 hours till tomorrow, you know, whenever you're ready to pull this out and bake it. Okay, so it is the next morning. I didn't get to it the previous evening, which is one thing I love about sourdough is if it's in the refrigerator, it will pretty much wait for you. So I'm going to remove it from this bag and see how nice it rose. Put it on the parchment paper carefully so you don't deflate it. And that's another thing, when you refrigerate the dough, you can remove the cloth from it very easily and handle it a lot easier. So I am putting together my lame. That is a razor blade with a stick on it, pretty much. Usually have to assemble it each time. And I am going to score it. And a lot of people choose a basic like half moon pattern, which is like a typical scoring pattern because it gives you that big ear is what it's called. It's like a big piece of crust that comes up. It's really beautiful. But it's also functional. So as this is cooking, because this is cold and the oven is really hot, it's going to cause some condensation and some steam inside that loaf, which causes oven spring. And oven spring is a period of rapid rise because of the steam process. And it will blow out the side of the crust. So you want to tell it where to do so. So scoring is functional and artistic. So like I said, we're going to put it in that hot Dutch oven, which has been preheating now for a little while. And I'm going to get that out of the oven. But I have had a problem with the bottom of my bread burning. And I have tried a few different things. And what I have found that works the best is I put just a handful of steel cut oats in the bottom of my pan, and then I pick up the parchment paper and the bread and put all that in there on top of the oats, and it creates just enough space that that bread is not sitting directly on the bottom of the Dutch oven, and it doesn't burn anymore. So that's what I'm doing there. Just sprinkle in some or grab a handful of them, not too many. And then I will put that directly in there and put the lid on and let it bake. And then in just a few minutes, I will show you what oven spring is. The lid is very important. You want to cover it while you bake it at the very beginning to create that steam, hold that steam in, so that you do get good oven rise or oven spring. Now it has been 25 minutes now. It's been baking at 450 degrees. And I'm going to scoot you over here so that you can see better inside that oven. Okay, look how much that has risen. That's a nice, beautiful loaf. But it's not done yet, so we're going to put it back in there and let it finish baking and browning. Okay, it has been another 20 minutes in there, and it is done now. So I'm going to turn the oven off and bring it over here and let you see it. Isn't that a beautiful loaf? Oh my gosh. So I put mine on a cooling rack so that it it cools evenly and doesn't get a soggy spot on the bottom, because if you just set it in a plate or something like that, it will get soggy because it's still steaming right now. So you want to allow it to breathe all the way around the loaf. And you don't want to leave it in your Dutch oven, because that will stay hot for a while and it will continue to cook, and you could actually overcook your bottom. But look how nice that loaf looks. And see, that's where I scored it, where that darker brown is right there. No burnt bottom. Nice loaf. Okay, so you guys get to baking and let me know how your all's turns out. Let this cool completely before you cut into it, and that's what I'm going to do, is let it cool completely and then show you what it looks like on the inside. It should be easy to cut. Look at all them holes. I'm really proud of this loaf. This one is a really good loaf. Each time you do it, it gets better and better. Some days are good days to bake, some days are not. Weather plays a big part in that. But just get in the kitchen and get to baking. Look how soft. Very nice. Pretty proud of this one. Let me know how yours turns out.